So in this session, we are going to talk about populations. Now we will start through the lower state of ecological scales. Studying about individuals and organisms deal with the microphysiology and physiology of an organism, which are studied in different part of biological sciences, like starting from cell to an organisms. But we'll study in detail with the aspects of populations, understanding how population are formed, what regulates the population, what is the structure and composition of a population, and then we'll go on to next levels like community and ecosystems, biomes, etc. So population basically is a group of individuals that belong to the same species and inhabit a particular area at any particular given time. So understanding the definition, it is group of individuals belong to the same species, okay, at any particular given area at a given time. Okay, so for example, a population of humans or population of Homo sapiens in India in 2021 would be the population referring to a particular unit, right? That these three are important parts: same species of particular area at any given time. So population differs, the population rate and the population structure and composition differs with given time. So yeah, so this is an example of population. The great habitat of staghorn coral in Lawson, Thailand is a combination of multiple individuals. So a population might consist of individuals that are unitary or modular. Now unitary refers to individuals which are single individual can survive on its own and has reproductive organs and specifically deals with collective numbers. That means, like in case of humans, humans are unitary organisms, like we as single organism produce units, while modular organisms have multiple clones, like in case of these dragon corals, these are multiple organisms, okay, while a single individual unit that we are talking has multiple clones as well. So this particular clone that we see has multiple units of individuals but is a modular organ. So this is entire organism but it has multiple clones. Similarly for a underlying grass, like this is going on, so for example this grass is growing on under the subsoil, this is again a grass, and yeah, this is how it grows, right? So on the top of the soil it appears to different individuals but it is connected by roots and it is of the same individual. So it is one particular unit which has different modules. So these are modular organisms. The great habitat of staghorn corals that we see are example of modular organisms, while of the humans that we see are unitary organisms, right? So these are different type of organisms and the different populations that we see. So this is a population of humans and this is a population of corals or staghorn corals that is usually seen in Thailand. The population differs from one another and it has certain characteristics which gives the population its structure. So the primary characteristics is numbers, because population deals with the number of multiple individuals. So the most important parts are size, then density and distribution, abundance. Apart from that, the character that deals with the composition of the population is age and its sex. It might be male, female, or other kind of sexes that are available, and it varies across different phenomena. The population from an area to the population of different area differs with its size and density. So so there might be two populations, a population A and population B, of having the same species. Let's say 100 rabbits we are talking about, and there is 80 rabbits. So it differs with the size. Sometimes size might be equal, but it differs with the density. And we'll talk in detail about the other characteristics, that is distribution and abundance, and also age and sex structure. So yeah, population size is one of the most important factors, right? Population size is expressed in the number of individuals in a particular population at a particular area in the given time, right? So the number of individuals that we are talking about is population. So if a population of if a given area there are 100 individuals, so that is the population size, right? Population density talks about individuals per unit area right? So there might be no, let's say, a grid of 2 square kilometers. Okay, so it is 2 kilometers square, 2 kilometers, 2 kilometer to 2 kilometer. So this is a grid of 4 kilometers square. I mean, each grid is of 1 kilometers, right? So this is a grid square, right? Just set an example. Like imagine there is in the entire population there are 80 individuals. So that means here it is 20, here it might be 40, here it might be 10, and here it might be 10. Okay, the entire density, so the density of these entire populations size is, so the population size of the entire grid, so the population size of the entire grid is 80. So population size of grid 1 is 40, grid 2 is 10, grid 3 is 20, grid 4 is 10. But the density of different grids differ because this is more dense grid as it has 40 kilometer, as it has 40 individuals per square kilometer. Right. So the density of grid 1 is more than in case of any other grids. So this is what population density is all about. So there are two different aspects of density. One could be types of numerical density. When numerical density deals with the number of individual per unit area, if it is in open or terrestrial region, or it can be in volume if it is in water or air. So if we are considering fishes, then we should be taking number of individuals per unit volume. Okay. Then the numerical density is usually applied for the organisms that are visibly large, that can be counted and have a uniformly distributed situation or uniformly populated species. But in case of biomass, we are talking about those individuals which cannot be counted and usually are small in size. Like if you are talking about algae, it cannot be counted per individuals. So here what we need to do is we need to take the biomass of the entire sub region and then calculate the density. So it is usually applied for small microbes or organisms and fishes and insects where the population is very large and variable. It varies across regions. Imagine a situation of a pond which is filled with fishes. Now the pond is in the area of, let's say, 8 square kilometer. Okay. So the pond is in the area of 8 square kilometer and has around 80 fishes. Now this is the case around January. What will happen around the month of July? Now in case of July, we know that due to summer, there is shrinking of pond. It will usually reduce in size because of the loss of water. Okay, so with respect to the area, the water has shrunk down. So the density will obviously decrease. So this is the crude density. Okay, here we are talking about crude density. Crude density here refers to a numerical value. Okay, so with variation of time, as you can see, the water level decreases, and with it, crude density will decrease. Okay, because the available area, the number of individuals per available area is decreasing. So it is a numerical entity. But the number of individuals in this particular region might be 80. So ecologically, this became more dense. So even if it is a small region, there are a lot of individuals in that region. So even if it's a small area, there are a lot of individuals that are ecological available and affecting the environment or are as a part of community. So they are interacting as well. So the ecological entities that this small region has is more. So the ecological density increased. So this is what we are talking about, density per habitable space, as because the habitable space is decreased. The habitable space is this much. Okay, the pond is the habitable space, not the numerical area that we are talking about. The habitable space has decreased. Hence, even if the habitable space is small, the number of individuals is high. That's because the ecological density has increased. So it is talking about realized and ecological numbers. Okay, so here we are not talking about numerical entities with respect to the area, but we are talking about how the number of individuals change with respect to the habitable space. Now, when we talk about abundance, okay, abundance appears to be a non-trivial term or not that much of used term, but abundance is pretty important. Okay, How is it important? Because imagine an area of a, let's say, 100 square kilometers. So we cannot go and find all the individuals in that particular region. Let's say if we are talking about finding grasshoppers in the 100 square kilometer region, so we cannot actually count the individuals. If we are able to count the individuals, then we can measure the size and density. If we are not able to count all the individuals, then what we need to take is sample. That is, in the region of 100 square kilometers, what we have to do is we have to find the we have to find the organisms in 1 square kilometer, and then put that and multiply that with particular factors. So the number of individuals that are available in that particular sample area shows how abundant are they. I mean, in a small region, of 1 kilometer, if there are 100 individuals available, so they are more abundant in that particular region. And if the abundance is similar in different regions, that means the population is large or the abundance is large. So this is, abundance talks about a sample population in a region. A sampling population can be taken to estimate the entire population, its size and its density. If the sample population is large, I mean, if the population is large or the number of individuals is large in that sample, it shows it is more abundant. So if I talk about a population in, let's say, Odisha, and we are trying to assess the entire population of India. So if we find that there are 1,000 individuals in Odisha, we're not going to tell that the population of individuals in Odisha is more. Here what we are trying to say is Odisha has higher abundance of this particular species. That's what I'll refer. Okay. So it might be a state of population, but in order to find all the population in that particular region, we can take a sample, and in that sample, if the number of individuals is more, then it is more abundant. Or abundance is a relative measure. Okay. So when we talk about abundance, abundance is a relative representation of species in particular ecosystem, and it is usually measured in the number per sample. Okay, the ratio of abundance to one species with all the multiple other species in the ecosystem can be referred as relative species abundance. Okay, so this we will talk about in detail in other aspects, like when we are talking about diversity numbers and diversity indices, but this is a factor that we are considering here. So abundance gives us the idea of the distribution of individuals across the area. Let's say in an area of this big region, okay, there's a pond, and we divide the entire area into 9 small regions. Okay, so let's say I'm trying to find dragonflies around here, and we know that dragonflies are found more around the ponds. Okay, so let's say I found 100 individuals here, I found 20, I found 40, or let's say 20 here, I found 40 here, I found 35 here, I found 10 here, 15 here, 75 here, 20 here. So what I meant to refer here is, we found the number of dragonflies in this region. That means dragonflies are more abundant around this region. And it shows how the abundance varies with the region with respect to the distribution. So it will show us the character. That means that particular character, that particular factor, let's say the factor is here is pond, shows that higher abundance. So that means how population is distributed over area. So it's obvious that if a population is distributed over a particular area, population will be abundant around a resource. There will be more abundant with close proximity to a particular resource. Here as the resource water, so they are closely associated with water, and hence there will be more found in the region where there is a pond. Okay, so abundance can give a measure of the distribution as well as the population density. So here you can also measure that the population density varies as population densities vary across different grids, and it can show us the population is more abundant within a particular resource, hence it is the showing increased density. This gives an idea about how they are densely associated with an area and how they are distributed across the plane. So which brings us to the next topic, that is distribution. So if we are talking about spatial distribution, that means how individuals are spaced out, how individuals are distributed across a space or area. That also can be shortened down to understand that it refers to the number of individuals or the arrangement of individuals over a particular space or a region. So it can be of three types that we know. It can be random, it can be randomly placed at any region, or it can be uniform. So it has a uniform distance over this region. For example, in case of shrubs in Karakoram Desert, so these plants have specific region or differences of 10 meter around them because of the root expansion under the soil. Clumped distribution are group of individuals that form a specific clutch together or clump together and travel around, and they can be randomly placed around. Now there is again a mixed setup that we can have, that is clumped uniform distribution. So in case of African savannas, you can see that these shrubs of acacia and eucalyptus, they form around clumps together, where acacia is surrounded by eucalyptus in a format. Look, so this is acacia and it is surrounded by eucalyptus. So they together form different clumps, and these is found uniformly across the plane, and hence they form a clumped uniform distribution. There might be again clumps random, as was saying, clumped random. There might be again clumped uniform distribution. So these are different type of distribution spatially spread across a region over an area, which gives an idea about how organisms are distributed or how organisms are spread out. Now when we are talking about spread of a distribution of a particular region, that will happen within a restricted area. Okay, so they cannot be found everywhere. Even if they are found everywhere, they have a certain range, and that is called habitat. Habitat is a set of regulations or a physical area or habitable range of ecological factors. Okay, the regulations here are referred to are ecological factors. So they are not rules, but they are factors which are responsible for restricting them in a particular area. Okay, so let's say if an organism is aquatic, so they will be found only within the aquatic ecological factor. They cannot be found in terrestrial regions. Similarly, there are multiple factors. We will study that in detail as well. Now, for example, there is a moss that is tetraphis. So here the moss tetraphis is found in the North American region and Canada. So you can see when we expand it, we'll see that they are found clumped in different regions. So the majority of portion is found in the New York region, and when we again expand it, we'll find they are clumped in particular region, and they are found across the water channels. And we again identify, so they are found around pine barrens in a specific region because they are associated with pine trees. So they fall on and are created on pine trees. So they grow on stumps of pine trees, or hence are found around the coniferous forest. So the majority of the region are found in coniferous forest, and when you expand it, we'll see the clumps of small organisms that are growing on the pine trees. So this is how, so this is the habitable range of a moss, that is tetraphis. But when we see the entire range of distribution, so they are distributed across North America and Canada, but the habitable region of that moss is around a pine tree. Right. So if a species is geographically distributed widespread, or it is found worldwide, then it is called ubiquitous. While if it is restricted to one specific region and they are not found in any other areas, they are called endemics. So many specific regions have endemics, and they are found only in that region because they are specialized with respect to that particular ecological factors, and in the absence of those ecological factors, they are not found. Hence they are specialized.